I'm Kenneth Schmidt. I'm the 10th child of 12 kids. My mother was Estella Schmidt, and Dad was William Schmidt, born and raised at Tioga. Well, she was about 5'6", I suppose, a little chubby. Always happy, laughed all the time, played the piano. She raised us 12 kids without a dad. Our dad died. I was 6 when our dad died, so we'll probably get into that a little further in the interview here. So. She was always baking in the kitchen all the time. I recall we had a big in our kitchen. It was a farm kitchen. We were born and raised on a farm, of course, 3 miles west of Tioga. And as a child, I remember we didn't have any running water in the house, nor did we have any kind of fuel except the wood and coal. And so she baked in the kitchen with coal heat and wood heat in the oven. So the refrigerator was run by a propane pilot light that similar to today's campers. It circulated the freon in the fridge with the pilot light at propane. But that's all I can say about that. When growing up, every afternoon when we get home from school, she always had fresh buns. It seemed, and the house always smelled so good from baked bread. And she worked so hard. I remember, without any running water, we carried all the water from our well, and then Monday was wash day, Tuesday was ironing, and of course in those days they ironed everything. But she had a washing machine. It was one of those old Wringer, where it dashed the clothes, and then you'd run them through the wringer to get the water out of them. And winter times, of course, you didn't have a dryer, so winter times you hung them out on the line. They became freeze dried. And of course, summertime, same thing, hung them out on a line. And then seemed like, of course, with that many kids around, he's always washing clothes and cooking. Anyway. Very little. I was 6, like I say, when he died, and I really can't remember. I remember he'd go in the afternoon and get the kids from school, and I'd ride with him. And he said I talked all the way to town, and then when I got to town, I wouldn't talk. So bashful, I suppose, but I kind of remember when he died how things were, and that I'm being 6 years old, and it really didn't dawn on me till later in life. She did all this without a husband around. We were raised without a father. When he died, the oldest was 22, and the youngest was 3 months. So, and 3 were gone from home at that time. So basically, she raised 9 of us by herself. Oh, yeah, but sad thing was, every time we'd start talking about our dad, my mother would start bawling, so as a little kid, then that made her sad, so let's not talk about that. So not till we became, in our 30s and 40s did we dare to talk about him, because it made her cry, so, we relate to, if that makes her sad, let's not talk about it. But I feel that we kind of lost a lot of memories from her because of that, but I don't know. That's just the way she was. I guess we can't blame her, but I feel I missed a lot of things that she could have told us. he would go to basketball games. He was small town, in Tioga, and everything was basketball. And he'd get, I guess he'd get so excited they kick him out of the, eject him out of the game. What do they call that? Technical fouls. And then when he later on, they call it heart trouble. His had a bad heart, but the doctor forbade him to even go to a ball game because he gets so excited. They thought it would trigger a heart attack. But then I talked to some of the neighbors, people that knew him, and he was just fun to be around. They said happy all the time. Always having kids, of course. We had 12 of us, so we're always having a new kid around, I guess. Yeah, they were really serious about that. And then even the tournaments, wherever the tournaments were, they'd go. And that I get, like in the movie Hoosiers about basketball in Indiana, that's why it was in North Dakota in the 50s, early 50s, or late 40s. If your kids were in school, you were involved in basketball. That was kind of the center of attraction or the center of entertainment in the wintertime. And living only 3 miles from town, the kids, we were always going to town for something. Wasn't that far. So. I think he'd be proud of us. We all were successful, successful people, our whole family, and would have been nice to have him around, but that's the way things are. Get over it and get on with your life, do the best you can. But I'm sure him and Mother would be proud of the kids they raised. Oh, we all had chores to do. We always had cattle. We farmed quite a bit, and it seems like when one left the farm, another one took over. When they got out of high school and went on their way, another one moved up and took over, and so we were raised. I always say they taught us how to work, but not how to play, because we're so work orientated, we don't know how to relax. And a typical day, we'd milk. We usually had 5 to 7 cows to milk, and then we had sheep also. We fed in the wintertime. Then we fed the cattle. Put up hay all summer, filled the hay mow in the barn full of hay, and we'd stack bales outside. And we'd feed cattle, and we always had hogs also. In the summertime, we had chickens, and we worked hard putting up hay and the milk. When us three, that means Richard, Raymond, and I, we were the closest, I think. And we had 7 milk cows, and of course we had to milk twice a day. But Mother, she'd separate the cream from the milk, and then we'd sell the cream to a creamery in Tioga, and we'd get the cream money. That was our spending money. I don't know, probably $20 a week divided by 3 of us. That was our spending money that's why we never really complained about having to milk cows all the time, because that was our money, But the extra milk, I think we just took down and fed to the pigs after it went through the separator, what we didn't use in the house for cooking and such, and making butter. We always made butter, too. We had an old wooden butter churn. I think I still have it here at the farm. You'd put cream in and paddle that thing for a couple hours till it turned to butter. Anyway, that was like a Saturday afternoon job all the time. Then we had farm work to do. We always got the crop in. When I was about 6th or 7th grade, I stayed out of school in the spring, helped put in the crop. Harold and I usually worked, because Richard and Raymond had rheumatic fever when they were in grade school, and so they couldn't work. So Harold and I kind of ran the farm until Harold left, and then Richard got well enough to help out. But like the others, I think like Donald was in the Air Force in the mid-50s. And then when Harold got out of high school, then he went to oil field, so the rest of us moved up and did our share. But my sister Diana, she was about 5 years older than me, 6 years, but she did a lot of work. She had to do the ironing. We never made a bed ever. Never washed any clothes. There was always clothes in the drawer, clean, and socks folded, and the beds were always made. And so Diana worked hard. I can see her yet ironing. I mean, we even ironed our handkerchiefs. That was I mean, that's just the way things were. They ironed everything. So, but we always had clean clothes. And then, of course, the hand-me-downs. With that many kids in the family, there was always somebody outgrowing something and somebody moving up to it would fit them. But that's the way it was. I have no regrets about that. Other thing, we always had a big garden. Mother had a big garden. And we hated working in that garden, but we had to hoe and we had to. But of course, we all like to reap the benefits of the garden. But sometimes we. One time, my pigs got out. I had some pigs. I was raising, I don't know, for 4-H or FFA. Probably. Of course, they rooted out the garden, and she was so mad. And that's part of farm life. Animals get out once in a while. But we always had our own produce: potatoes, meat. We always had a calf to butcher, or a hog to butcher, chickens. One year, Mother wanted to buy a new freezer, so she got all these chickens, and 500 chickens, I think, and fattened them up and butchered them and sold them to people in town. But it probably just broke even. But 500 chickens. To this day, I can't eat chicken. I can still smell them when we boiled them and picked the feathers off, and then had to singe the hair. Every time I see somebody eating chicken, I can smell that burnt feathers. I quit eating chicken a long time ago. I think that's the reason for it. I just can't take it. Oh gosh. Oh, you never swore, and if she did, you got your mouth washed out with soap, or if you did anything like. If you said the N word, you got your washed out, mouth washed out with soap. And it was ivory soap all the time. I always tell everybody, I got good at that. I haven't got to liking that soap. But I don't know if that's true, but that's what I always told the kids growing up. I had so much soap in my mouth, I got to liking it. But anyway, and I remember you did something out in the yard, and she'd rap on the kitchen window with a knife or something. I'm surprised she never broke the window, because some of the grandkids can still tell you stories about her banging on the kitchen window and trying to get your attention to straighten up. But yeah, she was a disciplinarian. Yeah. And if we have relatives visit our aunts and uncles, if we ever said their first name without saying uncle or aunt first, boy, that was a treat to get your mouth washed out with soap there. That's why, Uncle Elmer or Aunt Ida or Aunt Linda or something. He always put the aunt first. And to this day, I guess I used to, when they're still address people with the aunt or uncle or mister or something like that. Because, she taught us how to be respectful of others. She had devotions every night, it seemed. This was when most of us were still at home. We'd always have a devotion book. And then later on, she kind of quit that. But she always had the Bible next to her reading table or her favorite chair. And then and she always read the Bible I think at night when she went to bed. And we always said the table grace at every meal. At breakfast, I don't think we said it at breakfast. The other 2 meals of the day, we'd say table grace, and like I said, you never swore around her. And sometimes she'd sneak out. We were working out in the garage or something. She'd walk out there, or she'd be on her way to the garden and hear us yelling or something. and she'd correct us on, she knew we didn't have time to get the soap, but so she'd correct us there right on the spot. Well, yeah, we always smoked. I think we started smoking when we were 12, 13 years old. Stole them from our older brothers, probably. One time she bought a carton of cigarettes, and she sat the three of us down, Richard Raymond and myself, in the kitchen, and she said, I'm going to make you smoke till you get sick. And that didn't help. I suppose that we smoked about a pack, but she kind of gave up on that. She saw that wasn't going to do any good to try to get us sick on cigarettes. But she was disappointed that we could quit smoking. But all of us have stopped now in the last 20 years, so we're okay now on that. I guess maybe her belly again did do some good because we finally quit. She was always took interest in the grandkids, and I remember when I had a drinking problem one time, and she was always, she knew I was going to AA, and she said, anything I can do to help you, it's good to see you're getting help for yourself. That's all she said. She really never preached, but I took care of myself, and I'm okay now. So, but you could always go to ask her for advice about. I never really had any marriage problems except my drinking problem, but I never really asked her about any marriage problems or girls or nothing. I don't know. My brothers took care of that. Another thing, if you look, none of us have real good friends outside the family, and I think that reason for that is that we were close. As brothers, we were close together. And we never nearly needed any real close friend. We had each other, I suppose. I can beat on my brother, but you better not beat on him because I'm coming after you. One of those deals, Well, she reacted real good. She gave me a big hug. She was out in Washington, and we found out Mary was pregnant, and so I remember I called her and I told her, and then when she got back about a week later, she gave me a big hug, and she said, I know you'll be all right. I'll pray for you all the time and all that stuff. And she's a good person. Mary's a good person, and it'll work out, she always said. So I know she was disappointed, but she looked at the bright, you can't. It's water over the dam. Get over it. Get on in life. And so that's the way she always was. If some others in the family, had to get married and stuff, she said, well, that's the way things are. She never sit and bemoan the fact that, shouldn't have done this or this or this. Things happen the way they happen. That was kind of her attitude toward life. Do the best you can with what you got. There's so many things. I'd like to thank her for keeping us together as a family, with 9 kids. With that many kids and no husband, I'm sure some people would farm the kids out, to adopt them out, and I just want to thank her for keeping us all together and teaching us the values she taught us. What kind of, that's, our ethics and our and honesty and so forth, our hard work ethic, really. And that family is the most important thing in life is family, I guess. You take care of family. So. And I'd just like to thank her for keeping us together and for all she did for us. Well, there's a lot of other things, but that's the basic. Looking back, the older I get, the more I wonder how in the world she coped. She put up with, that's a miracle in itself, what she did without a husband around. You know, he only lived to be 56 years and 10 days. And some of us brothers have talked, you know, if we can live to be 56 years and 10 days, we're on borrowed time. But she lived to be, 93 or 4. I'm hoping I got most of her genetics. but I think you're right. That's right. Why God gave us 8 of us, so take care of her. Well, I'd like to thank the sisters for, they helped raise us too, and my 4 sisters, and the older one, Helen, Lauren, and Diana, but I don't want to leave them out because they shaped us what we are too, So don't. I didn't mean to purposely leave them out of the interview.